Pix 106.
We need to get CPR started. That's not enough. Okay. Let me.
Yeah, we can't do CPR.
Okay, then hand the phone to the passerby. Anybody there can do CPR. Give them the phone, please. I understand if your facility is not willing to do that, give the phone to that passerby, that stranger that has it sent. This woman's not breathing enough. She's going to die if we don't get this started.
It's Quinn and Cantera. There's audio from the 911 call.
The 911 operator, I mean, did she do the best she could?
Yeah, she's got to be so furious. You'd think there'd be something else she could do, but there isn't. That's, of course, we're talking about the story about the woman who literally passed out. What do you want to call it? Passed out. She started to die.
She had a heart attack.
Had a heart attack, whatever, and she needed to be resuscitated in order to live. She's in her 80s. She's at a old folks home, and there's a rule. They're not allowed to touch the people until the 911 or the emergency responders get there.
So here to kind of talk about the legal aspect of it is attorney Paul Harding from Martin Harding and Mazzotti, 1-800-LAW-1010 and 1-800-LAW-1010.com. How you doing, Paul?
Hey, good morning, guys. Good morning.
There's some details we might have gotten wrong here. Like, for instance, I don't know if it's a care facility or if it's just a community home, but does that have something to do with how they approach
There's
this?
got to be a legal way. This woman was too chill, too calm on the phone, right?
Yeah. You know, it's true. They're in California, particularly, they do have a distinction between if you're there and you need continued care, or if you're just kind of in assisted living, which this was. But the policy, as gross as it sounds, is one that apparently in California anyway, the operator was familiar with it. She knew exactly what she was getting into. That's why she was trying to find that passerby who would in fact render care.
Why isn't this unacceptable, though?
Well, it is from my perspective. It's interesting. I could tell you something about here in New York that I think most people would be shocked at. The rule in New York, if you see someone who's in distress, let's say you find someone in the road and they're lying face down in a puddle,
right?
And you walk by them. Now, you didn't put them in the puddle. You didn't cause them to be there, but you see them in there recognizing that if you don't roll them over, if you don't do something, they're going to die. In New York, you do not have a duty to help someone in that situation. You can walk away, and you can just go about your business, and you will not be held liable either criminally or civilly. Now, if you've knocked them down and you put them in that puddle, now you're on the hook.
Okay.
So we do have that rule here, unlike Vermont, which under that same set of facts, they have a duty to get that person out of harm's way. So it's by analogy, it's a similar situation. The policy there said we don't do CPR. Now, you look at the Hippocratic Oath, you know, these healthcare providers.
Sure, she was a nurse. This woman was a nurse.
She had taken the oath, and boy, that one sort of is inconsistent with what the rules are, isn't it?
So what could happen to this woman? Because that's an interesting part I didn't know.
Yeah.
She took the oath.
Yeah.
So she's obligated to help, right?
She is.
But she'd lose her job.
Right. If she does it, maybe she saves a woman. Again, no guarantee the CPR would have been the saving grace, but it certainly was what she was called upon to do. But had she done it, she could have. Maybe she wouldn't have, but she could have lost her job. But she would have been in a morally sound ground, and from her licensing perspective, she would have been solid. Now, the doctors and nursing, are they going to have their licenses pulled because they don't follow this oath? I don't know. I've never heard of such.
Yeah.
But it is something that they've agreed to in terms of a moral obligation as they enter that field.
Well, Paul, the policy in place is obviously to prevent lawsuits, so my guess is they probably have had history with this. Could this actually backfire? Is there any way the family could actually bring a lawsuit for not helping?
I suspect they will. Then they're going to point to the rules and regulations, and they'll say, well, you knew we didn't do that if you read all our rules.
Right.
But just attacking it, because you put the jury looks at this, or any of us who read this, and listen to that 911 call, you know, outraged, absolutely outraged that the woman could be said. She was so cool and collected,
right?
Meaning she wouldn't even cooperate. I suspect there will be a lawsuit. Maybe nothing will come of it because the policy in California may be firmly in place there. But
if they sign something, Paul,
we'll hear of it.
If they sign something when they put Grandma in the facility, you know, and they knew it, because the woman, the daughter or whatever, said initially, she said, I back up the place for the way that they acted. Then I heard that after she heard the 911 call, she sort of recanted that. And I'm wondering if that's when someone advised her that she might want to take an attorney.
Well, it's funny. You know, you have the do not resuscitate, the DNRs. You hear about those.
Which wasn't in play. Here.
Which was not there. So in my mind, something, you know, in paragraph 28 of a 50-paragraph admission sheet unless you were clear on that and you had a discussion about that and you kind of signed off. I don't think that necessarily would hold up. So I suspect we're going to hear more about this as the weeks progress.
All right, so there's two things to take into account, or at least from my point of view.
Yeah.
Be really diligent on where you put your family members who need care.
Of course.
Read that fine print.
Right.
The other thing is I love Japan.
Yeah.
Where they idolize their elderly.
Sure.
You know what I mean? They take them in, they suck the
Yeah.
wisdom out of them.
Yeah.
Here in America, we just kind of push them off to a home and visit them, 6 times a year. So
who knows what this lady was suffering, if she was in pain, that kind of thing. So horrible story. But Paul, thanks for trying to help us put it in perspective. But maybe we'll hit this up again sometime.
All right, Paul Harding from Martin Harding and Mazzotti, 1-800-LAW-1010 and 1-800-LAW-1010.com. And thanks for coming on Tuesdays now. We appreciate it, Paul.
Yeah, that's perfect. We'll see you guys soon.
Right, thanks, pal.
All right, see you, buddy.
Yep, bye-bye.
It's Quinn and Cantera.
Pix 106.
Well, that's why we're calling 911.
We can't wait.
He's saying we don't, so you can talk to my boss, and
Okay.
I don't know.
They're refusing CPR. They're going to let her die. As a human being, I don't, is there anybody that's willing to help this lady and not let her die?
Quinn and Cantera. Slicing the Righteous. Mornings on Pix 106.